Nah, it was not a good match. I think that Pogba did some nice things. I think he gave players opportunities, but I still think he plays with the brakes on. He needs to. There's a task here to do, and that is not conceding any goals. If you can nick something out of it, sneaky, that would be nice. But for the rest, it was not another good game.
Did that look like a Manchester United side that came for a 0-0 draw?
Can be a
Here's confirmation of tonight's scorelines. Sevilla 0, Manchester United 0, Shakhtar Donetsk 2, Roma 1. Both games still in the balance. Let's get some reaction from Seville, where Chris Smalling and David De Gea are with Des Kelly.
It's a result that we're confident at home.
Job done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Only one place to start, isn't there, really? I mean, he didn't have that many saves to make, but one in particular just before half-time. David De Gea, extraordinary.
Yep, outright the best goalkeeper in the world. Time and time again,
We'll come to that in a minute about the best
he produces saves like this. But the great goalkeepers don't have to make saves every 10 minutes. He could be called upon once in a game, and he's got to be there. It's that concentration at the top level, and he has that in abundance. Yeah, I mean, the reflex is here. He waits for him to make. He doesn't gamble. Waits,
enormous
reacts.
speed.
It's just the speed of that is phenomenal, breathtaking.
Strong hand as well. I mean, I think a lot of goalkeepers, they might get anywhere near with a reaction, but I don't think to get that firm hand, it can be one of those fingertips.
Cement, like cement. Right? They say chocolate wrist, don't they? But he's certainly not got those.
Yeah, fantastic.
Paul, your turn. Eulogise as you will.
He's the best. I think he did have a difficult period when he first signed, but from that original difficult time, he's been the best for what, 3 or 4 years now. He's saved Man United so many times. He's saved them so many points. And today he's probably ensured that they'll go through.
Well, we were talking before. When he first come, even as players, we were sitting there with doubts, really.
Yeah.
A young kid just coming to the doors at Manchester United. We need to win every year. How are we going to do that? Have a young kid in experience who looks like he's lacking confidence. To be fair, Steely, who brought him in, believed in him, and the gaffer followed that through. And where he is today, that's a sign of someone who's worked hard and got to where he needs to get.
Yeah, BT Sport did a Twitter poll this evening, probably after that save, that asked really fans of supporters of Manchester United, etc., who is Manchester United's best player? 93% have gone for David De Gea, 7% between Pogba, Sanchez and Lukaku. Says something.
It says something. I don't know if it's good or bad.
I don't think it's probably. Yeah,
I mean, I always felt as an outfield player.
It's good for De Gea.
No, it is. I always thought as an outfield player, if our goalkeeper won Player of the Year, then we've had a bit of a dodgy year. A team like Manchester United.
He wins it most.
I think he's won it last 2 years, hasn't he?
Yeah, so I think Herrera won it in 1 year, but aside from that,
could have done.
I think he won it 3 times out of 4 or something. Something else. We're talking about the best goalkeeper in the world, and that debate. Other people will have different opinions, of course. But just a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, FIFA's Best Awards. This is quite interesting. Buffon, 42%. Neuer, 32%. Navas, Real Madrid, 10%. Courtois, 9%. Lloris, 3%. There were votes also for Oblak, Ter Stegen and Alisson, who played for Roma this evening. David De Gea, 0 points.
They're obviously not watching the Premier League, don't they?
Who votes?
Who votes? Who is it that votes?
I don't know. That's the question.
Yeah.
Who votes?
Buffon did the voting.
Yeah, exactly. Get them on here.
I think it's probably coaches and players and not maybe goalkeepers. I don't know. I'm just saying. Maybe do we take into account? I mean, Neuer's obviously terrific as well, and he's been injured most of quite a long time now. But taking into account, is he as good a footballer as perhaps some of them on the floor? That's quite important nowadays for goalkeepers.
I think all round, he's the full package.
Yeah.
I think you can pick faults
Crosses,
in all of them.
necessarily come out.
Yeah, but in today's game, they don't really cross the ball as much anymore. But I think in terms of the all-round package, I think if you looked at all the other games, I don't think they're as strong all-round as he is. I think Buffon's been a great goalkeeper, aging. Unfortunately,
I agree with that. Yeah.
Neuer, I think there's been big moments in big games where he's conceded a lot of goals. We were speaking about that before, and I don't think he's as complete as David De Gea is today.
I'd agree with that. Yeah. I think what David is most important when you think about a goalkeeper, he's saving shots and keeping the ball out there, and he does that brilliantly. And he is good with his feet. Okay, he's maybe not as good as some, but he's still got great feet.
Yeah. Frank, where do you stand on this? I mean, there's other goalkeepers. We've seen Edison come through at Manchester, made a massive difference to them. Brilliant on the floor.
Yeah, and suiting Manchester City's game. So I think that adds a lot to them as a team. But I think as the whole package, I can't see anyone actually near De Gea at the minute. I think he's quite clearly at the front of it for his last 2 or 3 years' performances.
OK, let's bring it back to the game itself that we've seen tonight. Sevilla had 1 or 2 opportunities aside from the save that De Gea made. Yeah,
and I think that Manchester United, I think we said job done beforehand. There were glimmers for this Seville team, but they didn't have that cutting edge today. And this was really their opportunity to really put this game to Manchester United, and they didn't really put it to an end. They didn't get the final end product that they were looking for. And Manchester United, as I said before, I think they'll go home fairly satisfied with the performance today. This is a fantastic chance. Not any real conviction there.
Yeah, I think they seemed to lack a bit of conviction. I think they got in some good areas like that, but just weren't ruthless enough. And obviously, they had the great chance what David makes. I think this is another great chance. He should head it back. I think he should head it back towards number 11 there, Correa, who's coming in. But I just don't think they really had that belief that they could go on and beat United.
I'm not sure if it was Manchester United's game plan, but they were very content to let them shoot from just outside the box, but then not feel that they were under pressure with it. And they kept shooting, but you never felt massively under pressure.
It kind of panned out as the game we expected. Low scoring, draw, good result for Manchester United. What was expected?
I think Jose Mourinho's team said a lot from his point of view. And then you look at the Sevilla team and you say, well, they're doing well in the Liga, but who do we really know there that's on this sort of Champions League level that's going to really win games and turn games? And there are not too many names there, so it ended up pretty even.
Yep. OK, time for a break, but when we come back, we'll try and get more reaction from Seville with Jose Mourinho after the Manchester United boss saw his side draw 0-0 with Sevilla. He was reasonably relaxed throughout, really. So it finished 0-0 between the last 2 winners of the Europa League in Seville, and that's our focus tomorrow night on BT Sport. We start in Russia with Celtic as they take a 1-goal lead to face Zenit. That's at 5:30 on BT Sport 3. On BT Sport 2, Arsenal play their second leg against Östersunds, 3 goals to the good. That starts from 7:30, and you can see all the evening's goals straight after that game in the highlight show at 10:15. I'd like to talk about where Manchester United are. Where do you feel they are? We're looking at other teams. I mean, it's a decent result tonight, and they're in a good position to go through. But they're kind of a little bit pedestrian compared with perhaps Manchester City, other sides that are good. Liverpool going forward, possibly even Chelsea at times. Yeah, compared to other teams in our league or in this same competition, they're not as pleasing on the eye. That's fair to say. But they grind out results. This is, I think, in Europe. Me personally, I'd have been getting on the plane very, very satisfied with this result, confident that we'll beat him at home. And to win trophies, sometimes it can't be pretty. You can't all be free-flowing, great footballing teams. There are times this season when Manchester United have played well, especially at home, but they're not as consistent in their performance as other teams. Do you like to see a little bit more flair perhaps introduced? It looked quite a bit more exciting when Martial and Rashford were on at the end there. Yeah, it did as well. I think when you set up to play counter-attacking football, you need pace. I think one match from the team tonight is a great football. We know that, but in a team that has possession. Tonight there was just no real pace on either wing. Sanchez didn't have his best game. And again, Lukaku has to be better when the ball's, when you're playing counter-attacking football, the ball's got to stick with him. He was so weak. You've got to be strong. You've got to get hold of the ball, get your touch right, and bring players in every time. And not every time, but most of the time, he's giving the ball away. You played under Mourinho, very pragmatic, obviously. Wins lots of trophies. Do you think perhaps the game's evolved a little bit and left him behind? Well, it's definitely changed. The game has changed. I don't think Jose's tactics. I think that's where he differs from Liverpool and Manchester City in particular. They defend, and Tottenham actually defend very front-footed. They start and they press very high. Manchester United teams generally don't. They kind of sit back and have shape and look to counter-attack. I think it's kind of one of the reasons why they're not maybe quite so pleasing on the eye, because you don't get that quick pressing game, winning the ball back high, and that excitement from them. But for a game like tonight, without it being great to watch, it's very effective for an away tie in Europe. Yeah, sometimes you can read too much into things when you're away for home. They'll play differently, I'm sure, in the second leg. Lukaku, Paul said he was poor tonight, didn't hold the ball up very well. missed a decent chance or...
Stats don't always tell the true story or something, but 38 touches he had tonight and 18 times he give it away. And if you're trying to produce a counter-attacking performance, that first ball up to your front man, the ball has to stick to allow your team to get out. Your runners, the likes of Sanchez, Pogba when he came on. But with Lukaku in the team at the moment, the ball doesn't stick, so the counter-attack will not happen. It doesn't happen.
OK, we'll come to more of that very shortly, but we can hear from Jose Mourinho. He's with Des Kelly.
I think he had also a positive performance.
Thank you very much, Jose, and thanks for the hug.
Thank you.
I've asked you loads of questions. You've never hugged me.
not as good as him, not as good as them questions.
It's a good point. Well made. We were talking about Lukaku. We've got a little bit of footage to back up what you're about to say.
Yeah, it's just frustrating. I mean, because he has all the tools. He's big, he's strong. Great movement there. Wrong decision, wrong choice of shot there with the wrong part of his foot. But he has everything to scare a defender. I've played against him. He's quick, he's strong, he's aggressive at times.
He's scored 20 goals this season, really.
And he's scored a lot of goals. But the big games, big nights, big moments is where you want to see him produce.
Yeah.
And that's what he wants to do.
That's where it falls down, his statistics, don't they, in the big ones.
He has to prove himself in the big games, there's no doubt about that. 21 goals, yeah. It's a great return at this stage of the season, but we need to see him in them big games now.
I mean, you know him well, obviously.
Yeah. And
can he step up? Do you think he can be that man at Manchester
He wants
United?
to. I was very impressed with his work ethic at Chelsea, because he was quite raw at that point and had to work on his game, and he certainly has done that. But I do think there's more to come, and that link-up with teammates is a huge thing. If you're going to play Sanchez around him and Martial, Mata, people that are going to join you, it must stick, otherwise the whole game can break down on that.
Yep. Paul Pogba, he came on when Herrera got injured, didn't he? He seemed to do his hamstring fairly early in proceedings. He'd been left out. I mean, it's understandable why the press are all asking about Paul Pogba, because it's a big story. It costs £90 million. He's left him out in a big game in Europe.
Yeah, there was no surprise he left him out for me, because his last two or three performances haven't been good enough, and he probably couldn't trust him in this game. But he came on and I thought he did all right. It wasn't sensational.
It's like most of the players, they kind of just did all right.
Yeah, I think he was right to talk about McTominay. I thought he was excellent for the job he was given, because Banega's no doubt their best player, and you didn't really see him in the game at all. So he really nullified him. I thought he was good. I thought Matic as well. I thought all three of them played well. You'd just like to see that bit more quality in forward areas. I think that was the only thing that this performance lacked, really.
This is a touch match.
I agree. I think he did okay. I think at this level of football, you have to, as a midfield player, I did it many a time, you have to accept you go away. And you don't, maybe you have a funny feeling after this game. Did I influence it much? You know, did I get in the box as much as I wanted to? Sometimes you don't. I think he did that sort of steady job that helped the team.
We've all played in games where it's kind of okay. Did you used to beat yourself up at all after matches?
Yeah, certainly would do. But if I did okay in that, I think as I became more mature, I understood your role in the team, and you understand that's what you have to do. You know, you go away wanting a bit more. That's normal. It's human nature, I suppose.
And Paul as well. How were you about your own performance? Did you self-evaluate a lot?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, I wouldn't have been happy tonight.
No. 0-0. I definitely wouldn't have been happy.
I think as a midfield player, as an attacking midfield player, when I was younger, if I didn't score a goal or I didn't make a goal, I was upset. If the later day didn't influence him, if I wasn't on the ball controlling play, I wouldn't be happy.
Yeah, Rio as a defender, you'd be chuffed.
I'd have been delighted.
You'd be blaming the forwards.
Scholes, Frank, brilliant. Protected me. Yeah.
Alexis Sanchez, it was another player that he didn't really have much influence, gave the ball away a bit, didn't happen for him. Yeah,
the fluidity of the front three never really came together at all. I think it was he played out from the left-hand side, again, he looks to link play. He wants to get to make runs, people play him in, or to actually start the movement and play and run and feed off other people. And he just never really got going. Never seemed to really form any partnership with anyone on the pitch today, and just looked a little bit like a lost soul out there. Yeah. And a real frustrated figure.
We've all played in these games, and they're not as easy as sometimes you think they should be. It's hard to play against. They keep possession very well. Spanish teams, Portuguese teams, German teams. It's not that easy. Sometimes, do you think we expect too much? Do you think of our teams away from home? I mean, La Liga's been the most successful league in European football for a long time.
I think the bar's been raised a little bit, though, this last week, especially with City winning 4-0 away, with Liverpool winning 5-0 away. Them performance, that's why when you see United against not a great Sevilla team, you expect more. You expect them to go to them places and win. What they haven't done, but it's still a great result, and you still expect them to go through without a problem.
No, they should do. Big few weeks for Manchester United. It's big few weeks for all teams, of course, at this stage of the season, but a tough one as well. Chelsea on Sunday, of course, then Palace away, always tricky. Liverpool, Sevilla, the second leg.
Big moments, but that's what happens when you go to big clubs. You're going to have a stage in the season where you're going to have some huge games that are very meaningful coming to the end of the season. So, as a player, you lick your lips when you see fixtures like that coming. That's what you want. You want to be in the big games, big moments to define a season.
And sometimes those games are easier and more fun and more vibrant to play in. Coming next, highlights from Ukraine, where Shakhtar Donetsk played Roma, and we'll reflect on all the first legs so far as all the English sides look well set ahead of the second leg starting in 2 weeks' time. With the possible exception of Chelsea, they might find it difficult. Seen them do it, but it just looks a bit,
to be honest,
like miss-kick it almost.
Didier Drogba was great. He had this really sort of strange short back lift and sort of get the ball would get stuck under his body almost and kind of dig it out. It's quite hard to explain the technique. There's a lot of practice though. It's not by chance. It's hours and hours on the training ground to get that up and down movement.
So basically you can't explain it to me.
There's a picture
how other people did it, not how I did it.
There's a picture of it. I'll show you after when we go off air.
Okay.
Go and head some balls.
I look forward to that. It brings us to City, really, the fact he's been linked with Manchester City. We're going to a little bit now about the current state of where the English teams are in the competition. They're all looking pretty good, with possible exception of Chelsea. Starting with Manchester City, they're pretty much through. They're actually favourites for the competition. Bookmakers' favourites.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they were fantastic here going forward. They gave up some chances in this game, but they'd done what was needed to do, and that was score some goals. Great goal there. But they're dangerous. Listen, going forward, they're a joy to watch. Got some absolute game changers, match winners, and so they're going to be a threat. I think they're definitely, you're talking about teams that are capable of winning it.
No Wigan, of course, in the Champions League. So remarkable game. Now, here are the odds for all the teams. Manchester City, 100-30 favourites. Barcelona and Bayern at 5-1. Real Madrid still 11-2. And then Liverpool, decent value, 10-1.
It feels more open this year, doesn't it? I think
Manchester United, 20-1. That's a big price for canny old Mourinho.
Yeah, but it suits him.
He's done it a couple of times.
Football suits him. He knows how to get through games, as we saw tonight.
And he's won it both times when he's won it with clubs that you wouldn't think would win it.
I'd worry defensively in the latter stages against the top end players defensively if they're strong enough.
Okay, Liverpool. I mean, they're improving. They're on fire going forward. On their day, they can beat anyone, Paul, can't they?
Yes, they can. They're so exciting going forward. Defensively, you still have a few worries. You definitely worry about the goalkeeper. But you think this team, you think they could probably outscore anybody. I think they've got a great chance of winning it.
You won't want to get them, would you?
No, you wouldn't want to get them, no. I say the speed, the power.
Liverpool, Man United in the next round, that would be tasty. That would be
nice, wouldn't it? That would be yeah.
We'll have to go to that, won't we?
I think we'd enjoy those two games.
But I think it's great. I think that we always talk about the tide changing in Europe, and this is a bit maybe of a transition. The Spanish teams have been very, very strong in this, and now the English teams at the moment, maybe this is our time to start.
Do you think the gap's closed significantly the last year or so?
Yeah, certainly do think so. Our teams, the individuals in these top teams, the way they're playing, we're looking at the managers who've got managing these clubs that we've been able to get to the Premier League, and I think that's taken us on an extra step.
Yeah, Spurs, Juve, perhaps the pick of the games.
I still think English teams have got a little bit to prove. You have to remember we're still at the last 16 stage. They've not got to a final yet. We've not really got teams in the semi-final. I think City being favourites is. I don't really agree with that. With the teams of great experience like Madrid and Bayern Munich, Barcelona in the team. I wouldn't have City at that level yet.
No, I wouldn't have. I think it's...
Well, they've not won a trophy yet under...
Exactly, and they've not been great about... They were better in the Champions League last year. They're a great team, great football team to watch, but when it comes to the real top end, your Madrid, your Barcelona, your Bayern Munich, they haven't proven themselves against that kind of opposition yet, and that's something, I think that's the next level for them to try and get to.
And that was shown again in the PSG game against Real Madrid. Real Madrid didn't go into that game with any type of form, but big game came along, big players come out and perform.
Do you think Spurs will get through?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I do. I think
they're in good shape. But
at home,
they played so well out there, didn't they?
Played brilliant. They're really good to watch at the moment. I love the high energy in their game. Not to mention the quality that they've got in attacking areas. I think they'll beat Juventus. Yeah.
And they seem to have worked out that playing at home at Wembley.
Yeah, they've got after two. It was a problem at the start of the season, but now they've got real confidence at home, and Juventus are a good side, there's make no bones about that. They're coached brilliantly well, but you'd have to fancy Tottenham at home.
The only problem is, the difference is Dybala, who should be back for that game, and he's a huge talent.
Yeah, when you've been out for that long, though, it's not always easy, is it? But
yeah, but when you're that talented, you can produce.
No, it's a good point. Chelsea, Barca. Chelsea probably the least likely of the English teams to go through, but they probably got the toughest draw.
They did, yeah. And that goal, was so frustrating from last night.
It's a massive difference, isn't it?
Massive difference.
I mean, I must say, I've said this many times before, but the away goal rule, I don't think it's fair. I think it forces teams to play at home a little bit more cagey than you want in the first leg. It's just a personal thing, but I think it's a bit unfair as well.
I know what you mean, but I'm a bit of a traditionalist, and I do think maybe if you flip that, the away team, it gives them an incentive of what can we get if we get that important goal.
You're allowed to disagree, it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, all the second legs are exclusively live on BT Sport, and we start on Tuesday, 6th of March. PSG, who famously lost to Barcelona last year at the same stage, will launch a comeback themselves this time against the holders Real Madrid. That's on BT Sport 2. On BT Sport 3, Liverpool look certainties to get through after their 5-goal win in Porto. On Wednesday, it's all to play for at Wembley, where it's beautifully poised at 2-2 between Tottenham and Juventus. That's on BT Sport 2. And Manchester City will look to complete the formalities against Basel after their 4-0 win in Switzerland. All the shows start, of course, as ever, on 7 o'clock. Thanks very much, Rio, Paul and Frank. It's been a good night. We've seen all the teams play in the last 16. The Brits are looking good. No awards yet, but lots of nominees. Good night.
Where to start then, boys?
Well, should we start with the
result?
Start with the result.
Let's start with the result, because in the end, the result's a good result.
Yeah, I mean,
for United.
Absolutely. Didn't get an away goal, but that's neither here nor there. It just didn't happen. Never looked like happening. So that's one side of it. Clean sheet, thanks to David De Gea.
Yep.
No thanks to the defending in some of the cases. I mean, 20 plus shots for Sevilla, which was domination in that sense. But a good result away from home. In terms of the result, a good result away from home.
Good, not great. And as it pertains to Manchester United, continue to be unwatchable. It's difficult. It really is. I mean, you invest money on a player like Paul Pogba. Well, he's not starting. And whatever those reasons are, we'll get into it. You invest money in Alexis Sanchez, ineffective. You invest money in Romelu Lukaku, ineffective. The approach that you take to the game, very defensive. You get out of there with a 0-0 draw, and I know people are going to say good result, but man, let me tell you something. That was worthless. It's just not. It's not watchable. It isn't.
Are we expecting too much?
I suppose so.
I suppose the problem is if you compare them to Manchester City, to Liverpool, to Bayern Munich, what they've done in the Champions League against so-called lesser opposition. You can argue whether or not Sevilla are in that bracket or not, but still, there just seems to be any sort of lack of.
I think we're looking for something that maybe just isn't ever going to be there. You know, this is a side that couldn't get in the top 4 last year, and Ali's talked about the players that they've added. Sanchez has only been there a few weeks. Pogba never even started. So the only difference is Lukaku, who's not going to win you the Premier League or the Champions League. So I think we're looking for too much that's just not there.
So this is United's level.
How long have we been sat here saying the same thing over and over? How many times has Ali said we can't watch it?
By the way, there's enough from Sevilla, Stevie. We saw enough from Sevilla to suggest that they play like that, United in the home game, and there could be trouble ahead.
Especially with the away goal.
I'm telling you, they're a threat. There'll be a threat on the counter. There were a threat in possession where they dominated. Let's be honest here. I take the result. But you're watching United, particularly away from home at times in these games, you're searching for a life support machine. You try and keep you alive watching the bloody thing. Honestly. I mean, in terms of the performance, it was abysmal. And, and thanks to David De Gea, they got a clean sheet. Now they've got to turn it completely around and flick that switch. Got to find a way to get Sanchez into the game, and I suggest it's probably not playing wide. You've got to find a way to get Pogba on board and then the team, because United should be a better team, clearly, with a minute. You've got to find a way to defend better, or they won't be going to the quarter-finals. Liverpool went to Sevilla, but for their atrocious defending, would have wiped the floor with this Sevilla side. created chance after chance after chance after chance, particularly in the first 45.
We're not talking in Sevilla about one of the elite. This is not upper tier talent. This is not the best of the best. It's not even the best of the best in Spain. This is a team that has been struggling in Spain. And so when I consider Manchester United and what they think of themselves as a top tier team, as an elite team, then you don't go to Sevilla and set yourself in such a defensive manner and settle for a 0-0 draw. At least those are the expectations that I have of Manchester United. But maybe I have the expectations of Manchester United of 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my fault. Maybe that expectation that Steve is talking about is simply unrealistic. And then this version of Manchester United is as good as it gets. And if this is as good as it gets, again, I repeat, it's unwatchable.
I don't think you can point a finger at anybody other than the manager. You know, I'm sitting here trying to think, if I remember anybody else other than Lukaku getting in Sevilla's penalty box. Now that has to be the manager. The manager must be basically saying, look, we give nothing away. If we get a draw, we get a draw. If it's 0-0, it's 0-0. We get them back home and forget it. I don't want anybody going out of position. I don't want anybody leaving any holes that they can hurt us with. Because with the talent that Manchester United, I think they've got, surely somebody must be thinking about getting in the box. You know, you want to score goals. That's why you play the game. You want to make passes, you want to score goals, but it seems like United, away from home in particular, it's all about not making a mistake. It's all about being safe.
So then you're down to the level of, okay, now you're West Brom. Now you're not Manchester United. Now you're a different team. Now it's a different level altogether. Because, again, if you want to be in that top tier, in that conversation, then you're the sort of team that you show up in Sevilla, and Sevilla must be afraid of you, must be scared of you because of what you bring, that you carry the game forward. That's not happening with Manchester United.
You know, Mourinho's not seeing it this way.
No, of course not.
He'll be somewhere now talking to the press going, hey, this is what we planned for. Yeah. This is what we talked about.
But that's scary in itself.
And they got away because Sevilla didn't have anybody who could put the ball in the back of the net.
They've got the best player, their best player by far is the goalkeeper. Has been for a long time.
Let's just remind you of the starting 11, because inevitably eyebrows were raised, given the fact that Paul Pogba was on the bench. You also had some surprising people as well. Lingard, who's been good this season, Martial as well. Obviously, McTominay, though, over Pogba was the big talking point. Inevitably, ahead of the game, Jose Mourinho was asked about the decision to keep Pogba on the bench. He said, well, he withdrew himself from the Huddersfield game, saying he wasn't ready. McTominay was good for 90 minutes, and we just want to go with someone who looks to be more kind of fit. It's kind of, I suppose, how he was selling it, but he wasn't selling it particularly well.
No, this is really strange because, you know, he's throwing the Huddersfield thing in again, which seems to me as if he's saying, he made himself unavailable because he was supposedly ill. And he's basically, the way he's phrasing it, he's saying, and I don't believe him. That's almost what he's saying, and I don't believe his excuse. But he wasn't available, so we went with somebody else. He played okay, but I don't understand, because if this had gone horribly wrong tonight, right, and they weren't able to peg it back at Old Trafford, then it just leaves more questions than answers. But the other side of the coin is, I think there is some gamesmanship going on, but I also think there's a clear message here that he doesn't trust Paul Pogba.
How did you rate him when he came on? He had 70 minutes. Did he do anything?
Well, he didn't do as much as De Gea. I mean, he's okay.
It's one thing for us to sit here, and certainly I have tried to back Pogba up, but what you're saying is right. I mean, did he do anything different that Herrera had been doing? No. Did he do anything different that McTominay had been doing? No, he didn't, and that's a fact.
So why is that? Because we know that he can. Is it because he's playing out of position? Is it because his head's gone, or is it because he wants out?
I think clearly what's going on between his ears is the problem, and I certainly think there has to be a problem between him and the manager as well. And if that is the case, then it's no surprise that he can't go on the field and play to the level that we know he's capable of. Because when your head's not right, you can't perform as a world-class football player.
Well, what he should do is have a conversation with Juan Mata and say, look, Juan, how did you deal with it when Jose Mourinho got rid of you at Chelsea and said that you were the problem? That you are no longer the guy that we needed, that we wanted? No. You are not going to serve a purpose for us. But now all of a sudden you're the answer to all of my issues. I'm going to play you no matter what. So how did we get from that to there? Have that conversation with Juan Mata. Say, how do you deal with Jose Mourinho? Because clearly it's an acquired taste. Yeah. Clearly it's something that you have to learn over time. Because there's no question in my mind that Jose Mourinho was throwing Paul Pogba under the bus when he's saying things like he planted a seed of doubt because he took himself out due to illness. That's essentially saying the player took himself out. It's not my call. It's on him. He doesn't want to be here.
I think Juan Mata could give Pogba Hazard's number and maybe find out when he really gets bad, how bad it can be.
How low can it go?
Because it's exactly the same situation. He did the same in the Champions League with him. Pulled him out, didn't play him.
I mean,
it's just happening all over again.
If he doesn't play him in the return leg, I don't know what he'll do. He might get past Sevilla, who Ali said is what, they're sitting fifth in the league at the moment. They're not at the strongest by a long shot when they were, winning Europa Leagues and under Unai Emery. They might get through Sevilla, but then they're going to pull a quarter-final, if they get through, pull a quarter-final draw, probably against one of the big boys. Now, they ain't going to beat one of the big boys with Scott McTominay in midfield. And that's not because this guy's a bad player. He's a youngster with a handful of games and he's not ready for that stage, I don't think. He needs to get Pogba integrated, head right and playing well if they're going to progress much further in this competition. Otherwise, I think he's just buying himself time.
And this is the extraordinary thing. When you look at the teams that are likely to advance, most of them, you'd imagine, when you compare it to who they could be facing, will want Manchester United, won't they? And this is something that you wouldn't normally say. But if you're Liverpool, Barcelona, Real Madrid or PSG, Juventus or Spurs, you've got all the big boys there, Bayern Munich as well.
Let's argue that Liverpool gets them. Liverpool know, because of what happened at Anfield, that Mourinho's scared of them. I mean, that's a huge advantage before you even start. I know it's Liverpool, Man United, and it's all about the history and everything else. But the fact is, when the players step on the field, they know that Manchester United are a little bit apprehensive of taking them on.
Are they going to make it into that draw? I suppose that is the inevitable question now. You take a look at the SPI. United coming in at 59%, Sevilla at 41%. It's far, as you mentioned, Craig, from a done tie. Because of the away goal, and because obviously 0-0 after 90 minutes, if you like.
And the fact United are not playing great, and they don't look defensively strong. I mean, they're relying on the goal. Keep repeating it. They're relying on the goalkeeper. Sevilla are a tidy side. Got some good players. Will be a danger on the break. But I think it is right. I still think United will be favourites and should be favourites. But there's no fear factor. No. There is no fear factor for Sevilla. They're not going to pitch up in Manchester trembling. They're going to pitch up thinking, hey, we got a real chance here to get into the quarter-final. And so this game is, SPI says whatever it does, but it's pretty close.
You're going with United overall?
I'm going just with United, yeah.
You're right, Ali, what's wrong?
I cannot pick Manchester United.
Well, you can. You can.
Or can I? I don't think I can. Yeah, Manchester United to advance. Somehow.
No, Manchester United.
Oh, that's much more confident than Ali.
Yeah, well, listen, Sevilla away from home have had some horrible results this past year, so you can't rely on them.
Right.
As good as they are passing the ball around, Man United at home with advantage, I think.
You can't rely on them, but they missed multiple opportunities today to beat Manchester United, and so it's like, who are we trusting here?
That, along with the amount of goals they've lost away from home this year.
Okay.
Both in some Champions League games and some La Liga games.
All right, just because David De Gea plays for United.
Let's be honest. And this is I think this is indicative. Not we, because we don't write the running order. Someone could have wrote the running order for this A segment at the weekend.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%. They could have wrote the running order, but what we'd have been talking about today, Wednesday, Sevilla, Man United, it could have been written at the weekend because that's what they do under this stewardship.
Good results if for the next match at home you have to, and they make the job. But as Ruud said, for me was not the Champions League level. I don't see one player from Manchester United play well.
No good. That damning. What about your former club? What do you think?
It was a boring game. It really was. But
Did it lack quality for a Champions League match?
Quality, as we were talking about a little bit earlier, Mourinho went there to get a result today. It was up to Sevilla to show and try to create the chances and try to make something happen. Mourinho, 0-0 away from home, he's always going to be happy.
Pogba comes on after 17 minutes. What role was he playing? You said he played with a handbrake on, Rube. That's ultimately, right, you're not going that far forward. Is it stay behind the ball? What is his instruction?
The assignment is just to stay as close to your midfield as possible. Make sure that there is no gaps. But Pogba, did his job, and I think at the end of the game I saw a little sparkle. I saw things of him that I say, hey, but he wants to be involved. You can see it. He wants to be involved into the game.
He wants to go, yeah, but Mourinho wants him to play in a special way. And I mean, if he's going forward, he has to get back as well. And I mean, you see in the end, he's just going a little bit forward on the left-hand side, as we saw.
Yeah.
And to succeed with that move. But Mourinho is thinking, if they lose the ball up there and Pogba is not in his position, they leave a lot of space to Seville. So it's a question and the balance. How much risk do you want him to take? Maybe it's right that he's playing with the handbrake on. Yeah, but I still see enough of him in this short time, in the clips we've been watching. Why doesn't he go on and do these things more often, carrying the ball through the midfield?
But if you look, right, okay, perhaps, the answer is, right, where's he touched the ball? Where has he been most influential during the game? Right, have a look at his touch map. 65 touches. He's played for 70 minutes, effectively, 73 minutes. Well, actually, he's probably half of his touches are, in the opponent's half. Really? And actually, it's not particularly defensive, is it?
No.
No,
but that is what you want from him. But what I want to see is when he goes forward and he ends up forward, then somebody else has to take his place.
Yes.
You don't want him to run like a crazy, 30, 40 yards. No. He goes forward, somebody else takes his place, and all the positions are back again. So therefore, I don't see it so much. I don't, the only one who can explain what he wants from him is Mourinho itself. And if he sees things that we haven't seen, then he can explain it, and then we have a better opinion about it. And but like you said, last 15 minutes, you see Pogba doing the things that you want him to do.
The other person you were talking about was Alexis Sanchez, and him having to make those runs to make things happen for Manchester United. Okay, so 27 passes he's made in the game, and that was the great one for Lukaku, who missed the chance, who put it over. But that's him making them runs in the same sort of areas that we've always known him doing it. That's where he played, obviously, for Arsenal, where you would have played with him, Eric, where he played at Barcelona. But it was a frustrating night for Alexis.
I think it's not easy for him to have only one player in front. Only one solution, and when we see the passes is always in the same side, touch and move, but never creating trouble in the defense. That we like, and from Alexi is that once against one, and tonight was not the Alexi that everybody knows.
At the moment, he played better with Arsenal.
But yes, because the people make those runs.
They make those runs, yes, for him. Creativity around him with Ozil,
But that was an away performance. At home, would he have more support? Would it be different?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I think he's a great player, Sanchez. But I haven't seen it coming out, so I haven't seen it with Pogba.
Is he more suited, Eric, more suited playing actually Arsenal than at Manchester United?
Still early, yeah?
Yes, but we have to talk about tactic. Maybe he's respecting the Mourinho tactic in Arsenal was different philosophy of play. He have first to adapt himself with the team. What you said is early now to talk, but he's a talented player. I know that he can make a huge difference.
He's a great player, I think, as well. But maybe, for Mourinho to get even a little bit more out of him, maybe play him as a number 9.
Interesting. What about Romelu Lukaku?
Well, some nights it's not your nights as a striker. Things are not getting stuck in your feet, and the ball is bouncing off you, or your first touch is not good. And I said earlier as well, he was a little bit left on his own. I mean, he doesn't have that much confidence at the moment, I think.
I still think that
He's not
because of the restrictions so much, when you got the ball, all of a sudden you are in positions that you can't go forward very easy. You see people running forward. If you, for instance, if you look at Barcelona, who already have players forward, then you have more possibilities of making triangles. They don't have that. So they need to run first in order to wait if something happens. And if Barcelona go forward, they keep the people forward and they think about how to get the ball back. That can be only 1 yard to the right or 1 yard to the left or a little bit forward, but they do. And that's why they can continue all the time, you know, playing this football. But when you have the ball as Man United and you were all in the back and you got the ball in midfield, where you go? Where? You can't go forward. It's almost impossible, and you see it all running. Rashford running, Martial running, Sanchez running, and then they're losing the ball. Because Jesus is fast. He did well, by the way, on that side. And, you know, they couldn't outrun him. So, where you go?
No, but it wasn't easy either for Lukaku up there today. I mean, when the ball was coming up, yeah, you can expect him to be a little bit stronger at some points.
Yeah.
But he was really on an island today because, yeah, when he got the ball, it was hard to get the support from the midfield because they were coming so far from behind. So, yeah, the only option, as Ruud was saying, was to run really with the ball in order to be able to get into the space and maybe getting people, players up to be able to do something if you cross the ball.
His record actually is interesting to look. Look against the big six. No goal in 6 appearances versus the rest, obviously 20 appearances, 12 goals. So if you look, that's in the Premier League this season. Overall, against the big six, 15 goals in 63 appearances. It's 82. So it's clearly double against the rest, against the big six. Is that where you make your name as a striker, scoring against the bigger teams?
Oh yeah, you do. But most of all, you make it as a striker when you make important goals. You don't make the fourth. You don't make the fourth goal, the fifth goal. You make the first goal.
Does he score important goals?
I think he still needs to prove that. He's still young. It's unbelievable. He doesn't look very young, but he's still young.
24.
So therefore, he's at a big club. So hopefully he can become better.
Henry, when did you mature as a striker?
35? No. Just kidding. No, but I matured around 27, 28. But I was always a little bit later than the others.
Yeah.
So, but I believe in him because he got the pace, he got the strength, he got the finish. We've seen that in Premier League already. It's just a question of getting the self-confidence going and starting making the important goals. Like Ruud was saying, not the 4-0 ones, but the 1-0. Yeah. And when the game is drawn in the 89th minutes, pop-up scored a 2-1. Goals like that, because that builds you as well as a striker, because once you've done it once or twice, you knew you can do it. And as a striker, you need to be a believer and a gambler and opportunist, you say in English?
Absolutely.
So you have to gamble a lot and believe that you can do it, and then it will come.
Okay. It's finished goalless between Sevilla and Manchester United, largely in part to David De Gea in the Manchester United goal.
Oh yeah, he's a wonderful player. You know, it always looks easy with him because he's most of the time in the right position, and that's the reason why Real Madrid wants to have him. And I think he saved Man United so many times. And in a season, you want a goalkeeper at least maybe 5 games, 6 games. He saves for you.
It's very important to have a good goalkeeper.
You're number one. Makes a massive difference. As a defender, that's, you know.
Yeah, you know that behind you have a stronger guy, so it's good.
The trust.
Exactly.
Look at that. His save percentage. 95%.
That's unbelievable.
21 saves. That's a lot. A lot of saves. Slightly worrying for United, but at least he's made them.